welcome everybody to another episode 2 of Toss, Tristain on Sports Show. It is your friendly neighborhood T-Squared. Tristain Thomas here with you for another episode, and I want to thank you for joining me on my journey as we go through the state of the state. Lots to talk about with the season opening win for the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears. The hated rival, 31-23. It had its ups, it had its downs, and we're about to get right into it. So let's go straight into state of the state. As I stated before, season opening win, 31-23, makes everybody feel good. I thought the offense was pretty productive. I really do. Rodgers was Rodgers. Went out there, 3 scores. Didn't have a big passing yardage type of day that everyone's come to expect him to have. But this guy always expects him to go out there and do what is asked of him and win, not turn the ball over. Always give your team a chance to win, and that's exactly what he did. He led them to a win. A couple of 3-and-outs to start the game, a little bit surprising, but that happens when you have guys that haven't really had a lot of work together all preseason long. This was the one preseason in all of his time here that Aaron Rodgers really didn't get a whole lot of preseason work, and with good reason. Been in the same system. You've seen the amount of injuries that have been going on all around the league, especially on this very team. With Jordy Nelson going down, you don't want to risk the franchise. You've seen exactly what happens when number 12 goes down. You go 8-7-1 and scrape by just to make it to the playoffs. So you definitely don't want to go through that, especially after losing your number 1 wide receiver in Jordy Nelson, one of the big deep threats in the NFL. So I thought that Aaron Rodgers was very, very, very good. Very good. Did what it was asked of him. Obviously, you had some things to clean up, and he said so after the game. But I think that's coach speak or player speak. You always feel like that you can improve, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. He feels you can improve, and that means that there's more improvement to come. But I think he was Rodgers. He was the MVP of the league. He did exactly what you expected him to. Ran well. So all those people who still had questions about that calf injury towards the end of last year, those were put to rest. He ran extremely well, scrambled out of the pocket, kept a lot of players alive. And like I said, Rodgers was Rodgers. He was the reigning, defending 2-time National Football League most valuable player. That's what you expect out of him week in and week out. Lead your team. Do what you have to. You don't have to go out there and pass for 300 yards every single time. You lead them where they need to be led, and that's to a win, and they got that. James Jones came back with a splash, which I fully expected him to. For all my fantasy heads out there, I did not start him after I picked him up, and I should have. So a blunder on my part, but I will say this, I did win in both of my leagues. I usually only play 2. Only 2. That's all I can really pretty much manage if I really want to get my head around it and be focused and try to go after championships as opposed to just playoff appearances. So I did win in both of my leagues. I had him in one of my leagues. He was snatched up a little bit too quickly in my other league. It should have started him. He went for 17 points in fantasy. But I digress. Let's get back to the real deal on the field. He had a couple of touchdowns. Should have had 3, but it got wiped out by penalty. But he came back, 50-plus yards, a couple of touchdowns, made some spectacular catches. And that's been the thing with James Jones. He can make the spectacular catch. You can make those tough catches. Familiarity with the offense, you definitely saw that. He's become the security blanket for Aaron Rodgers now, especially with Randall Cobb being hurt. You will see him go to him in those tough spots to go ahead and make those tough catches, just like Jordy Nelson is able to make some of those tough catches as well. So he's becoming a definite security blanket for Aaron Rodgers, and you definitely saw that product and what happened with that on the field to the tune of 2 touchdowns to really get things going for those guys. I mentioned Randall Cobb. I think he played well. 5 catches, 38 yards, touchdown himself. He did what was asked of him. You know he's hurt. He's not 100%. I'm not even sure that he's close. You talk about an AC joint sprain or whatever the injury is. I don't think he's close to being 100%. And he won't be, especially playing in the season. He's going to get hit. Guys know that he's hurt. They're probably going to be targeting that shoulder. It was said that he was trying to kind of adjust his game a bit. Can't really lift his arm all the way. Had to learn how to fall a different way as to not really aggravate the shoulder anymore. So it's a big adjustment for him, and it showed. He didn't have the big yardage day at all, but he still had 5 catches and he still had a touchdown. That's exactly what you want out of him. You want that threat of him being able to still show people that he can still make those plays. And he can. He can still go out there and make plays. It may not be the spectacular plays, but you don't always need that. Sometimes you just need the basics, and that's what he gave them on Sunday. He gave them the basics. He got the good catches and kept the chains moving. 5 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown. You can't ask any more of a guy who's not 100%, especially with a shoulder injury. When you're a wide receiver, you kind of need your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your legs to be able to go up and make catches and make plays after the catch, especially with such a explosive player like Randall Cobb. Kudos to him, and then the coach staff really making a game plan from him, but really him tailoring his game to make sure that he's still able to be healthy as possible coming out of that game and still going out there and producing. A lot of guys would have sat that out and for a few weeks and see what happened after that and get healthy, but not him. He's a gamer. He went out there and he produced. But and let's not forget Eddie Lacy. Probably my favorite running back these days. Love Eddie Lacy. Got a couple autographs of him. Got his jersey. So yeah, that's my boy. If you're listening out there, which I don't know if you are, but if you ever hear this, yeah, Eddie Lacy, that you my boy, you my boy. But back to the field, I thought that he was very patient. Probably the most patient that I've seen him. Probably the most decisive I've seen him in his few years here in the NFL with the Packers. Ran well, 19 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown, and a spectacular catch coming out of the backfield as well. What can you say? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He's on the cusp of becoming a superstar. He's going to be one of those all-purpose, all-yardage types of backs that can do it for you from the backfield, running the ball and catching the ball. They'll be surprised they split him out wide to get him some chances there. They're going to definitely be using the screen game a little bit more because he showed that ability last season. Don't think that they forgot about that, and don't be surprised when they use that this season as well. So he's on the cusp of becoming a superstar. Ran the ball well, gave them exactly what they needed. Got on some tough yardage, but he definitely started hitting guys, and guys started going down, and he played well. I think the offense as a whole played well. Obviously, like I said, there's some things that you need to clean up. Absolutely. Some things you need to clean up. And it's only the first game of the season. I say it's the first game of the season to calm all of you down from the subject that I'm about to get to next as far as the Packers go. The defense. We'll start with the good, and then we'll flip to what absolutely made me pissed off. Let's start with the good. The passing defense still performing well. Until that garbage time touchdown and that garbage time drive by the Bears and Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler was well under 200 yards passing. Now, Aaron Rodgers didn't get over 200 yards passing, but he had 3 scores. He led the team on drives to win the game. He did exactly what was asked of him. I don't really think that was the game plan for Jay Cutler to be under 200 yards, especially with a back like Matt Forte, who just, like I said, we'll get to that in a minute. He was being very patient. I think for the most part, Jay Cutler did what he was asked. He went out there and he kept the offense off the field for the most part. And that's what you want. When you face the Packers, that is, everybody knows it. You keep number 12 off the field, there's a good chance you can win the game. Very good chance you can win the game. The longer you keep number 12 and the rest of that Packer offense off the field, the better. Give them fewer possessions because you know they're going to want to go. But I think he was very patient. He was adhering to that game plan. And it's never a bad thing to go and feed it to Matt Forte back there. Never a bad idea. It's been your offensive weapon. Period. This whole offense, this Chicago Bear offense, is predicated around one person, and that is Matt Forte, because he's really all you've got. You can't trust Cutler. Yet another turnover. to the Green Bay Packers. I believe, what's the stat? He's 1-12 with 22 interceptions against the Green Bay Packers. To say that's tough sledding is an understatement. Matt Forte was Matt Forte. He continued to chew those guys up on the ground. And that's something that I want to get into. And I had to take a breather. Deep breath, everyone. Because this is something that absolutely makes me mad. It gets me hot. It gets me going. And not in a good way. It pisses me off. This running defense was god awful. It was atrocious. Let me make this clear. The running defense is still atrocious. Now, let me put an asterisk next to this. B.J. Raji played well. He played well. He did his part. They did not get much of anything up the middle. Because guess who was waiting in there, making an impact? B.J. Raji. We spoke about this last week. B.J. Raji being right there, you're not going to get a whole lot up the middle. The problem was they ran left, they ran right because they knew they weren't going to get anything up the middle. And guess what? B.J. Raji played well, but everybody else around him, as far as run stopping, did not play well. And that does not bode well for this ball club. It does not bode well. The passing defense played well, yet again. I cannot stress this to you enough. They were number 10 in the entire NFL last season in passing defense. And I feel that they got an upgrade with those two rookies back there. Demarius Randall, Quentin Rollins. Even with the loss of Tramon Williams, they have an upgrade back there. And you've seen the way that they were able to produce. Yeah, Alshon Jeffrey wasn't 100%, but he was still out there. He was still a threat, and he still caught a few balls. Made a couple plays. Martellus Bennett, one of the better tight ends, he was still out there. Still making plays. So you have to be able to stop the run. Because if teams figure out, hey, we can't pass against them, but we can run against them, so this falls into the game plan of keeping that offense off the field and just running the football, sustaining long drives, and make sure that we punch it in. If we do that, hey, we can win this game. This is how you beat this team. Run the football because they're not going to stop us. Sustain long drives, punch it in. By your running defense not being up to snuff, you are aiding teams in their game plan and the blueprint in which can beat you. The longer you keep number 12 and the Packer offense off the field, the better the chance you have of winning. This passing defense is not going to give you a whole lot. So you're not going to complete a whole lot of passes against this team. If you do, they're going to be short and not enough for a first down. Running the football got the Bears a ton of first downs. Like I said, Matt Forte just absolutely chewed those guys up. And he's known for chewing these guys up. He's automatic 100 plus yards every time he faces the Green Bay Packers. That's embarrassing. That's incredibly embarrassing. I don't get how you don't understand that your running defense needs to be better. What is it with everyone? What is it with this defense? It's one thing is good and the other one is bad, and then you flip flop on the run defense is good and then the passing defense is bad. Why can't you get it together and get it consistent? Within the last 5 seasons, you had a consistent 1 year. That was the year you won the Super Bowl. You were the NFC's top defense, the number 2 defense in NFL overall. It was an absolute pleasure watching those guys play defense during that run. Hell, during the entire season, it was an absolute pleasure watching those guys play defense. I like a defense that's ball hawking, getting after it, making it ugly. I have no problem with that. Because you have an offense with a quarterback that's going to lead you to 27, 28 points almost every game. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you do not have a better running defense than you do. It's astounding. It's just astounding. I can't recall the amount of times that I threw down my snacks in disgust. I can't count how many times it did. It's frustrating. That is the blueprint to beat you guys, and you're feeding right into it. And now you got another injury. Sam Barrington is gone for the season. That's one less linebacker. It's hard not to be really angry with this because it's the same deal. Slow start with some part of the defense. And yeah, the offense got off to a slow start. But they got in a groove. They got in a rhythm. They found it. They went out there and did what they do. How is it that you guys can't find yourself? Get it going and do what you do. Yeah, Clay Matthews had a huge interception. Huge interception. Turned your game around. But I don't understand how is it that you don't, or you're just not able or not willing or whatever the case is. I don't understand how you don't get your defense together. All of it consistently at the same time. It's possible. You have a lot of teams who do it year in and year out. Why not us? Why not us? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't. But I did say it's only the first game. And it is. It's only the first game. I'm hoping there is improvement. Like every other Packer fan out there is hoping there's improvement. Because what did we speak about last week? Defense and special teams would be the things that hold the Packers back from making a legitimate run at a title, from making a legitimate run at Super Bowl 50 and possibly winning it. They're going to have matchups against some good backs. You got one coming up this week. Sunday, you face the Seattle Seahawks, who, guess what? They're going to be absolutely pissed off because they lost 34-31 on the road to the St. Louis Rams. You guys need to get it together because Marshawn Lynch is not going to show you any mercy. You don't think he's not going to be mad, especially after how that game ended? They finally gave him the football like they should have did in Super Bowl 49. Game on the line, and he didn't get it. Which, side note, bad play call again on the Seahawks. Shouldn't have snapped that from the shotgun. That should have been straight from the line. Give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. Give yourself a chance to pick that up. Don't snap the ball out in shotgun and then hand it off to him. You're just you're giving the defense more space to operate. It's never a good idea. But I'm not the play caller, so I guess I can't make that call. It's the humble man's opinion. My point is, if your run defense plays like that this Sunday against the Seahawks, prime time, Sunday night football, the entire nation is watching you. All eyes are going to be on you. You are the showcase. Nothing else is going on. It's you. Season opener, Lambeau Field, against really who's become your arch nemesis in the Seattle Seahawks ever since Fail Mary. Now, don't get me started on that. You guys have to get this run defense together because this is just not going to work. This is just not going to work. You guys are going to be held back because of that, because everybody's going to run it down your throats. Keep your offense off the field and win the game. They're going to make these things ugly, especially if you run into a good defensive ball club that knows how to run the football. Oh, wait, you are running into one. It's called the Seattle Seahawks this week on Sunday Night Football. It may be one game, but it's the same old story with this run defense. You need to get it together. But at the end of the day, they did get the win. We're very happy about that. 1-0. We try to go 1-0 again this Sunday. Sunday Night Football. Lambeau Field, home opener against the Seahawks. It's going to be a great one, and I will be in Las Vegas for that game. So I will be live tweeting that, and I'll give you my Twitter again later on in the show. Should be a lot of fun. Never been to a game in Vegas before. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be some pretty rowdy people there. So we will see. It will be quite the experience. Looking forward to that. Let's continue with State of the State, and let's get to the Milwaukee Bucks. There have been some great developments over the few weeks and really over the past day. But I want to get to someone in particular as far as the Milwaukee Bucks go. A player in particular. That player, we all know him. We all love him. Most of us can't say his last name, but we still call him by one name, and that's Giannis, the Greek Freak. Oh, man, if you guys have not been watching his international play, do yourself a favor and look at it, because he is growing into an absolute superstar before our eyes. Just today in the game, I believe it was against Spain. They lost the game. It was a very close game as well. Paul Gasol over there on Spain playing for those guys. Giannis over with Greece playing with those guys. I believe it was 73-71 score. Giannis with a huge double-double. 12 points, 17 rebounds, and a much improved three-point shot. His jumper is developing quite nicely. It is developing quite nicely. He's able to defend just about every single spot on the floor. This is an exciting development. If you are a Bucks fan, you should be excited about this. This guy is growing into an all-around player. He's going to be able to do so much for you. He can dominate if he wants to. And the thing is, he's still growing. He's still learning. I think he could be a very dominant player, but I think he's going to be able to do so much for you that he can impact the game in other ways. And that fits right into this team aspect. The Milwaukee Bucks are a team. It's not just one individual. They don't really need a guy to go out there and score 20 points per game. They don't need that. But if you can get a guy that can get you consistent buckets, clutch buckets, time after time after time, that would help. Now, I think that's something that held them back in the playoffs this season. Was the fact that they didn't have that kind of a player. Didn't have that type of a player. It's exciting watching a player take it upon himself to get better and has that hunger and that desire to get better. I love that. I love that. Like, hey, I want to be the best at what I do. I want to be one of the best in the NBA. I want to help my team win. I want to help the team make the team better. I think that's the type of attitude that Giannis has. And to see his game flourish before your eyes. I mean, like I said, you guys, even though they're done playing now, but if you guys get a chance to watch any replays, get any highlights of what he's been able to do, yeah, he didn't put up big numbers every single game, but it's the other things, the little small things that he was doing throughout the entire game that really don't necessarily go in the box score that excites me, that really shows you growth, that shows you maturity as a player. It's exciting to see that. Everyone said when he was drafted, hey, this is a project. And if he becomes the type of player they think he can, you're looking at the next superstar in the NBA, and you're starting to see that evolution. Especially with him developing that jumper. His three-point jumper has looked great over the summer in international play, international competition. It's not like it's garbage competition. You got NBA players over there that's going up against the likes of Dirk Nowitzki, the likes of Paul Gasol. He's facing some pretty good competition over there. A lot of the competition he'll see in the NBA. So I think this is definitely going to translate over to the Milwaukee Bucks as well. I really do. It's exciting. It is exciting to see someone flourish before your eyes. And I just hope that he continues to learn, continue to grow, continue to add that special element to this team. Because that's really the only way you could describe it. It's a special element. There are some players where you just say, man, if he does this, he could be unstoppable. If he really comes to fruition the way that we all see him coming to fruition, oh man, special talent. Giannis is that guy. He is that special talent that is really starting to realize all that potential, flourish into that type of a player that everyone felt he could become. The most exciting part about that is, yeah, he's starting to flourish, but he's not done yet. He's still learning. He's still growing. He's still young. That's the exciting part about all of this, is the fact that you got a lot of young guys learning and growing and getting hungry. You got Chris Middleton training with D Wade. Dwayne Wade. 3-time NBA Finals champion. Marquette's own. That's exciting. For him to call him legit, for him to call him a problem. He's one of the premier defenders on the wing. Got a good three-point shot. Proved himself to be a pretty consistent scorer for the Milwaukee Bucks. His game's only going to grow. I mean, there's so many guys on this squad that you just go back and forth and look at. Jabari Parker, we're hoping to get a full, healthy season out of him. He's essentially still a rookie. We got, 25 games out of him last season before he went down with that unfortunate ACL tear? He should come back healthy. To say he's going to be a big help is an understatement. It's really exciting times for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's really exciting times. And as a fan, I don't recall, not even in the Big Three era, I never recall this kind of excitement about the future, about how good this team can truly be. And I've seen some good Bucks teams in my lifetime. Been fortunate enough to see some good Bucks teams in my lifetime. Also seen some of the worst and the worst Bucks team in my lifetime. But this type of excitement around this team, I don't think has ever been had. And all of it is exciting. And I'm not the only one that notices it. You guys aren't the only one who notices it. We have a few new announcers coming to the Bucks squad. First, let's go with the staples for 30 years. Johnny Mac, John McLaughlin. Basketball himself, Jim Paschke. Coming back for their 30th year of announcing Bucks games. That is phenomenal. Happy to see those guys coming back. Congratulations. Congratulations. Essentially all my life, those guys have been announcing Bucks games. So I'm glad to see those guys coming back. But here's the shocker that I don't think anyone ever seen coming. Gus Johnson, Marquise Johnson, Bucks legend, Mr. Johnson, NCAA tournament legend, Gus Johnson. Those guys will be announcing 20 games for the Milwaukee Bucks this season. Phenomenally epic. If that's even a saying. It is now. If it isn't, it is now. Hashtag phenomenally excellent. Or phenomenally epic. Phenomenally epic. I don't know if it'll hashtag because nobody can pronounce it. Probably can't spell it. But I digress. That is epic. And they talked to Gus Johnson. He says, hey, the talent on this team, the excitement around this team is something that made me want to do this. And then he said it's something that he hopes he can do long term. It's one of the most exciting announcers of my lifetime, I have to say. Love Gus Johnson. Miss him doing NCAA tournament games. He just adds that extra element, that extra special something. Love Gus Johnson. Love him. It's that excitement that he brings to whatever sport he's announcing, whether it be NFL football, whether it be college basketball, whether it be pro basketball. He adds that extra element of excitement. He puts you on the edge of your seat. That's the type of enthusiasm that I want. That's the type of enthusiasm that I love, because that's the type of enthusiasm and exuberance I have when watching. So to hear commentators have that same sort of excitement, that just adds to it. That's why I love John McLaughlin and Jim Paschke, because they bring that same excitement. They love Bucks basketball, absolutely love it. And it comes out in their commentary. Make no bones about it. So it's exciting times that we're not the Bucks fans aren't the only people noticing this. Everyone is noticing this. Around the nation, around the world, all the circles, everyone in the sports world knows this. They see this, and they're just as excited. But I want everybody to pump your brakes as far as the expectations go. You got people out there saying, oh, they could win 50 and 60 games and win the division. Easy, people. One step at a time. I don't think they necessarily need to win even 50 games for this season to be considered a success. They could win 45, 47. As long as they continue to take those steps up, continue to be elite defensively, grow your offense, better rebounding, less turnovers, guys learning to shoot. It's those types of steps that really show you where this team is going to be headed. And it's exciting to think about all this young talent, the right coach. John Hammond got extended another year. And kudos to him. Kudos to him. Because a lot of people were saying that, hey, Herb Cole was pretty much pulling his strings, telling him he needed to make the playoffs at any and all costs, which forced him into certain moves. And a lot of people didn't believe that. And I'll admit, I didn't believe that. I just thought he was making terrible moves. But now Herb Cole isn't there. You got owners in there that, hey, came in with the mentality, own the future. Now he's able to show his basketball IQ, making moves that lead to success, not just now, but in the future. It's forward thinking. So kudos to John Hammond. Congratulations. It's a well-deserved extension. He's as much a part of this resurgence as anyone else. So he definitely deserves that. But it's exciting to think about. It's exciting to think about what this team could become and could accomplish. Because I think for the first time, and not just my life, but people younger than me and people a few years older than me have really had ownership with the Milwaukee Bucks that say, we're thinking championship. Not division championship, not conference championship, but NBA championship, world championship, which is the mentality you should be having anyway. But they finally brought that here. And they're doing the appropriate things to ensure that. And I couldn't be more excited about it. I know all of you can't be more excited about it. Everyone in every single sports circle is really excited to see how this is going to come together. Hey, not that much longer before training camp. So that's my little story about the Bucks. That's my state of the state on the Bucks. But let's move forward, continuing on with state of the state. And I want to talk Badgers football. Yes, I said Badgers football. Now I know you're thinking, well, Tristan, what about the Brewers? Well, what are your thoughts about them? What are they doing? What do they got going on? Well, we see what they got going on. It's a whole bunch of nothing. You got Matt Garza pissed off at the world because he got shut down. Well, Mr. Garza, you should have been pitching better. Save your arm, save your shoulder, save the innings, come back fresh next year. I don't know what happened. I don't know why he's so inconsistent this year as compared to where he was last year. I don't know what happened, but shutting him down, I think, was the right decision. Why keep putting him out there? And it goes to show you what Craig Counsell is all about. He's still out there trying to win games. If you're underperforming, we're not going to keep putting you out there so you can get shellacked and we can get beat. It's professional pride. You need to go out there and compete to win. He wasn't doing that. He gets shut down for the season. Rightfully so. I agree with the move. So not a whole lot to report on as far as the Milwaukee Brewers go on. They're still out there playing. They had kind of a decent stretch where they beat the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then Pirates came back and trounced them, and they got beaten extra innings by the Cardinals today. So it's winding down. This tough season's winding down, and we'll see what the future holds for them. I think I'll get a good rundown after the season ends with those guys and see what moves need to be made. But not a whole lot going on with the Brewers. That's their state. They're playing out their slate of games. They're still going out there playing, tough, playing hard, but just not coming up with the wins. So the tough season continues, so it's almost over. But back to Badger football as they beat Miami, Ohio, 58-0 this past Saturday at Camp Randall. Always ruckus, jump around like you never seen before. Can't say that I'm really surprised at the score. It was Miami, Ohio. Not really the level, not really the level of Alabama. Not really the type of talent level as those guys. And they went out and they handled business like we all expected them to. So now they're 1-1. But what kind of a team will they be? What kind of a team can they be? A lot of people might think I'm crazy, but I think they still have a shot at making the Big Ten championship game. I think they could still go out there and do that. They could win the West. They absolutely can win the West. I think they can do that. But it depends on a few things. I think they have a bit of an identity crisis. I don't know. Paul Chryst, he did his work with quarterbacks. He worked with Scott Tolzien, who's in the NFL. He worked with Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champion winning quarterback, monster contract. So we know the work that he's done. Those are two of the best offenses that Wisconsin has ever had when he was calling the plays. And those two quarterbacks were there. The work that he did with those guys was amazing. My thing is he wants to get back to kind of that throwing be the focus. Here's the problem with that. You don't have the personnel for it. Joel Stave, is he decent? I think he's decent. But I think any potential for him to be in that same mold as a Scott Tolzien passed long ago. Just kind of playing out the string. You don't have the personnel to go out there to be a pass it all around the yard kind of a team. Don't have the playmakers on the outside to be able to do that. You are built to run the football, and I think you're built to run the football for the next couple of years until you get your recruits in there to do what you want to do. So you need to run the football. Corey Clement needs to get that football all the time. Just about. You throw it to keep him honest, but this is running back you. You keep running the football. That is the bread and butter. That's what this program was built on, based on decent defense, great running game, great offensive line, which is another thing. They need to keep that offensive line solidified. They need to keep growing. They need to keep learning. But you're built to run the football. Don't be hard-headed and try to do something that you're not built to do. Don't do it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Please. You still have a shot at something here. I think they can still go on to the Big Ten championship game. I really do. I don't see any true threats within the West Division. Can Minnesota do it? Minnesota is much improved. I'm not sure they'll beat the Badgers. Can Iowa do it? Iowa's a little bit more improved. I still think the Badgers can get them. Northwestern. That's always the game that the Badgers kind of stumble over and kind of lose when they're heavily favored. My point is, I want Paul Chryst to be a smart head coach. Use the personnel that you have to do what they do best. Don't try to force this team into being a pass it all around the yard type of team. You don't have that type of personnel. And I know there's reports out there and stories out there that that's what he wants to do. He wants to be out there. He wants to pass it. We all know that's what he's good at. He's good at developing quarterbacks. He's a great play caller. That's the thing. But in being a great play caller, there's certain tendencies that they have that they want to go and they want to adhere to, but they don't always have the personnel for that. And that's where you have to be a smart head coach and understand, okay, I don't have the personnel to do this. I need to keep going with this because that is what we're built for. So if anything, that's what will worry me about the season. Are they going to try and be something that they're not, or are they going to be what they are? Run the football better than anybody else. Play some pretty decent defense. And you can make it to that Big Ten championship game. I think they can do that. I really do think that they can absolutely do that. But the proof is in the pudding. We haven't hit conference play yet. And we all know that once you hit conference play, anything and everything is possible. So I'm just going to wait until we hit conference play before I sit there and anoint these guys the Western Division champions of the Big Ten. But you got the whole season ahead of you. I think you got a lot of goals you guys want to achieve. I still think that the Western Championship is possible. I think the Big Ten Championship game is possible. But if you meet the likes of Ohio State or Michigan State out of the East, you can forget about it. I don't foresee them beating either one of those guys. I don't. Those guys they've been fantastic. So Good luck, Badgers. We'll be waiting until the Big Ten season starts up. I forgot who they face this coming Saturday, but I believe it's Troy, actually. Another kind of ho-hum team, what you expect early on in the season. Try to fill your schedule with quote-unquote cupcakes and then kind of build your resume and get those wins stacked up and go into conference play strong. So I'm hoping that they win that game to keep it going. And like I said, I think they have a lot ahead of them. I think they can go out there and make it to the Big Ten championship game. That's at least my prediction. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying the path is there for them to do that if they be who they are, which is a run the football kind of a team, ground and pound. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Toss, everybody. It's T-Squared, Tristain Thomas here, and it's time to get into the Toss sweep. Last Saturday, Floyd Mayweather took a bow, retired from boxing after his final fight in the win against Andre Berto. Not a lot of people knew this. It was a very low fanfare. I believe there were still tickets available for that fight. They didn't go like hotcakes like the Manny Pacquiao fight did, and for obvious reasons. Look at the level of talent in your opponent, Andre Berto. The guy was 3-3 in his last 6 fights. Now he's 3-4 in his last 7 fights. I believe he has a 30-4 record, but when those 4 losses come in your last 7 fights, not a lot of people are going to be excited about that. What makes me chuckle and mad at the same time is the fact that people complain about Floyd Mayweather's fights. To those people, I say, sit down, be quiet. And I say that for this reason. You know good and damn well what you're getting into if you go and order a Floyd Mayweather fight. If you go and buy a ticket to go and watch Mayweather fight. If you go out to B-Dubs or wherever you go to watch these events, you know what kind of fight you're going to see from Floyd Mayweather. Why are you acting surprised and mad about the fact that he uses every available option to win the fight? Okay, not every available option, but at least the smart options. See, they call it the sweet science, and they call it the sweet science for a reason. There's a science to how you fight. Let me break down Mayweather's science to you, since a lot of you are out there mad, don't understand why he does what he does. Floyd Mayweather is one of the greatest defensive fighters I have ever seen in my entire life. If you got somebody better, give me a name. Show me him. Because I've watched some greats. No matter what division. I've watched some greats. I'm a huge boxing fan. I've watched a lot of boxing. Still watch boxing to this day. I've seen a lot of greats. I don't think there is anyone better being a defensive fighter than Floyd Mayweather. There isn't. Remember when Mike Tyson went on that rant? He said his style is impetuous. His defense is impregnable. Floyd Mayweather's defense really is impregnable. One of the greatest defensive fighters I've ever seen. You can barely get a shot on him. And if you do get a shot on him, it's not clean. And he's one of the great counterpunchers in the business. He fights the type of fight that he does for this very reason. To win. Which is what he's done every single time he's stepped in that ring. 49-0. He is the last American champion to retire undefeated. I think the only other one was Rocky Marciano. I mean, think about that. Rocky Marciano, really, come on. In the annals of boxing history, I mean, really, think about it. He's got his name in the same breath as him. He makes guys fight the type of fight that he wants to fight. Which is why they call it the sweet science. You draw the guy into fighting the type of fight that you want to fight. It's all psychology. It's all mind games. It's all a sweet science. That is what he does. So he uses the entire ring. He moves around. He jabs. He's in, he's out. Doesn't really engage because he wants you to engage him. because he knows his defense is so great that you're not going to get a clean shot on him if you get any shots on him at all. And when you come in and engage him and miss, he's going to counterpunch. And he lands clean shots. I think in just about every one of his fights, he's led and punches landed. And this is from a guy who doesn't engage his opponent. They go and engage him. Because that is the way he fights. And you guys know that's the way he fights, but yet you still end up mad and shocked like it's a big surprise as to how he's going to fight his fight. It doesn't change. He makes them fight his fight. He doesn't tailor his style to them. He makes them fight his style. He makes them impatient. So they come in and they start making mistakes and he capitalizes on them. That's smart fighting. That's what boxing is. That is boxing, what he does right there. Not everybody needs to come in with a flurry like a younger Manny Pacquiao. He was controlled chaos, but it worked for him. He was in some absolute wars, absolute battles. This is why everybody remembers the name Pacquiao. This is why he still draws big money for his fights. But that's Pacquiao's style. That's not Floyd Mayweather style. It's a sweet science for a reason. So I need everybody to stop being out there, stop being shocked, stop being mad, stop being surprised by how he fights, because you know how he fights. You know what the end result's going to be. The guy doesn't have a blemish on his record. And he's fought his fights the exact same way almost all 49 times. I say almost because people forget he retired back in 2008. Back in 2008, he retired. And before that first retirement, he was the kind of fighter that would engage a little bit more. Look, he's got 26 knockouts. So that means over half of his fights, because he's 49-0, over half of his fights, he's knocked the guy out. Doesn't matter how it was. 3 knockdowns, flat, straight out knockout, whatever it is, he's got 26 knockouts. So over half of his fights have ended in knockout. He used to be that type of fighter that goes and engages the fighters. But that's back when he was 31 and younger, where he was a lot faster than he is now. I'm not saying that he's not still fast, because he still is pretty deep. He is pretty fast. But he was faster when he was younger. So he can afford to go in and engage guys and get those knockouts because he knew his defense was impregnable then. He knew his counter punching was still on point. He could get away with that. After he came back from that first retirement, he began to fight a lot smarter. Not that he wasn't fighting smartly beforehand. He got a lot smarter. Hey, I don't need to go and engage them. I don't need to go and take all that unnecessary damage. They can come to me, fight my fight. When was the last time you saw Floyd Mayweather lumped up? When was the last time you saw Floyd Mayweather bleeding all over the place? Drawing a blank in your mind, because it never happened. It's almost never happened. Say almost. Probably look it up. Probably has been lumped up before, probably has bled before, but I'm saying in his past few fights, I'm talking about after his first retirement, how many times has he been lumped up and bleeding? Not very often, because he realized I don't need to go and engage these guys. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough to make them fight my fight. And he's made hundreds of millions of dollars doing just that. So please, stop with the hate on the guy. I understand there's two differences. Some people hate him for what he did outside the ring. Okay, I got you there. But we're talking strictly Floyd Mayweather in the ring. Regardless of if you love him or if you hate him, he's going to go down as one of the greatest ever. Because nobody's been able to touch him. He's 49-0. Whether you like it or not, he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. And all of you out there being mad that he's winning, mad at the style that he fights, I would say stop watching him. But you don't really have much of an option because he's gone. He's done. He's retired. But I will make a bold prediction. I don't think 49-0 is going to be enough for him. I think Showtime, which is, he had to deal with Showtime, got one of the richest contracts for an athlete of all time for, I believe, 6 fights. I think it was, the number escapes me, but it was almost like $300 million for 6 fights with Showtime. That contract ran out after he beat Berto on Saturday. I think Showtime's going to come back with some money. And they're going to go to him and say, hey, one more fight. We'll pay you this much. Get to 50-0. Break that record. 50-0. And we're done. We're good. You can enjoy retirement. You go 50-0. Because who doesn't like a round number? I think that might happen. I think that's something that might happen. And if it's a good opponent, I don't see how you turn that down. But then again, this is where you're going to open yourself up to a lot of comments about, well, he doesn't fight anybody. He ducks and dodges everybody. Look how long he ducked and dodged Pacquiao and this, that, and so on and so forth. And some of them valid points. But I'm talking strictly coming back for 50-0, a huge payday, probably a lot of zeros after that payday, and then retire. I think that might happen. But as far as in-ring competition, right now he says he's done. All I can say is congratulations. I enjoyed watching most of your fights, but congratulations on a unblemished career, 49-0. Hoping the best for you, man. That's all I can do. This is Toss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Toss, everybody. And right now I want to get into a bit of a story in my life. Earlier this week I posted a picture. I believe it was actually on Sunday, the opening Sunday of the NFL regular season Kickoff Weekend. I posted a picture with a Packer shirt in the background, and on that Packer shirt, laying on top of it, I had a Sprite, a bag of chili cheese Fritos, and a Sara Lee snack cake. There's some significance behind those particular snacks. There's a story behind that I would like to share with you right now. Back when I was young, not that I'm not young, but back when I was younger, my dad and I would sit down and have what we called speak. That's just what we called it. We would go in the living room, and most times, for some reason, it was like nighttime. We didn't turn any lights on. He just sat in his chair. It was, I think it was the only light that we had in there was coming from the street lights out front. And he would sit in his big stationary chair. And my mom had this furniture set in the living room. It was a solid wood, brown wood, big, huge, fluffy cushions with like wagons and flowers on it. It was brown and cream. And I think some of you might have had the same stuff in your house way back in the day. But it was some of the most comfortable furniture ever. But there were chairs there, and you had the couch, the love seat. You had a little rocking chair, a big rocking chair, and a big stationary chair. My dad would sit in the big stationary chair. That I would sit in the little rocking chair, which my youngest sister took an adorable picture in with her legs crossed. She's going to kill me for telling that story, but she did. Legendary picture in our family. But back to the story. I sat in the little rocking chair. He sat in the big stationary chair. We had what we called speak, where we just talked about a lot of different issues. I was a kid that was pretty mature for his age. I really was. A lot of people tell me I'm wise beyond my years, and I just think back to when I was little. I was like, wow, I was an egghead. I still am. Just a brainiac. I think back to when I was younger. I'm like, wow, I really knew that at that age. I'm like, geez, like, well, how old am I really? You know, am I like a 65, 75-year-old in a 33-year-old body right now or something? I don't know. But so we would have speak, and we would just talk about a lot of different issues, a lot of different things. And one day, we went and we had speak, and he just looked at me and was like, son, it's time you learned about football. Now, believe it or not, there was a time that I didn't know much about football. Believe it or not. And And again, this is when I was way younger. I think I was maybe 4 or 5 at the time. And I think I kind of knew what football was, but I didn't really know what football is. It wasn't to the point where I am today, where I'm just almost borderline obsessed with it. But he said, son, it's time you learn about football. We're going to sit down. We're going to watch the game on Sunday. And any time I got to spend with my dad was precious. I love my dad. I love my pops. So that Sunday came around, it's Sunday morning, and my dad, I go to my dad, and he rubs me on my head, and he was like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, you can be right back. I'm like, where are you going? Like the game is coming on. I have my little, if you're from Milwaukee, that red book. I have my red book, the TV schedule right there, and most of the time I didn't even need it. I just remembered it. Everybody came to me like, what's on TV tonight? And I just could recall it from my brain. So it's not like I really needed it, but I had the red book and I'm looking through it like, okay, the schedule says this game's going to be on at this time. It's almost that time and dad is leaving. This is not good. He said we're going to watch the game together. This is not good. So I'm kind of freaking out a little bit like, oh man, dad's not going to be back in time for the game. Oh, this is not good. But he came back 20 minutes later. And I'm just smiling, and I remember walking in, coming through the back door, and he goes into, he comes through the hallway, and he goes through the dining room, goes to the bedroom where he and my mom's bedroom was through there. Throws his jacket on the bed, and he has this brown paper bag. He comes over, and our TV wasn't in the living room; it was in the dining room. And I remember this big, huge, square dining room table with chairs all around it. It's a chandelier above it. I remember the entire place. Big bay windows in there. Big shelving right there. And the TV was right in the corner. It was a Quasar. And believe it or not, for the kids listening, there was a time where we had TVs with no remotes. We didn't have all this smart TV. We didn't have all these programmable remotes. We didn't have all that. You had to actually get your behind up off the couch and go and turn a knob to turn the TV, or pull the knob out to turn the TV on and turn that knob to turn the TV volume up. And sometimes you needed pliers if you was real ghetto like we were. But this was the Quasar. This was the good TV in the house. So we didn't have the pliers for this one. Didn't need them. We had the actual knobs on there. So he pulls the knob out. TV comes on. Turns the top knob. And I remember I believe he turned it to CBS, because I believe at the time CBS had the NFC. And I believe it was the Packer game that came on. I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, man, I'm just so excited. I'm like, man, with me and my dad spending some time together. We're going to watch football. He's going to teach me about it. This is a fantastic day. So he pulls a chair alongside of him. And he sits down. I sit down. And I hear rustling. And he's going into a brown paper bag. And he pulls out a Wildwood root beer soda, a bag of Fritos, and a fudge round. And he gave them to me. Then he goes back in the bag. He pulls out a Wildwood orange soda, a bag of Doritos, and a zebra cake for himself. And I'm sitting there like, he's like, oh, eat. This is what you do. This is football. You eat and watch the game. And I just remember that day just being so amazing. Then he's talking to me during the game, and he's teaching me like, okay, this is what a first down is, and this is what you normally do on third down, or normally what you do on a fourth down in this situation. He's giving me the intricacies of the game. And that memory stuck with me. That memory absolutely stuck with me and just sparked even more of a love for sports. From then on, it was something that we did. It was something that we did until we moved, and my dad was an alcoholic, and he struggled with that his entire life. And my mom tried to support him, get him the help that he needed as much as she could. And it just came time that, hey, I've done all I could. You continuously destroy yourself. Your kids deserve better. I deserve better. We're moving. You can't come with us. So I believe after 3 season openers, there was no more of that with him. Never got to do that with him again. And we made big dreams, because on that day, and during halftime of that game, the first time that we actually watched football together, he said, "Son, the biggest game in this sport, which will probably be the biggest game in the world," which he was pretty much right about. It has become the biggest game in the world. It's the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl, son. And you know what? Guess what? We're going to go. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. So he goes over to the cabinet, grabs an envelope out, goes into his pocket, pulls out $20 bill, puts it in the envelope, puts the envelope back in the cabinet, closes the door. He said, "Son, that's our Super Bowl money. Gonna save for us to go to the Super Bowl, you and me." And I had a younger brother, but he was over a year younger than I was. He didn't know what football was. He wasn't really into it at that point in time. He was more so into his constructs and his Hot Wheels and all that. That's what he was into. Not that I wasn't, but I loved sports. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. And I remember that envelope. But then when he fell off the wagon of sobriety and continued to struggle with his addiction to drinking, that money dwindled until it was all gone. And I remember going into that cabinet and looking at that envelope, and it was dirtied and crumpled, and there was nothing in it. There was a lot I wanted to do with my dad. I wanted to go fishing with him. Never got to do that. I wanted to go to a basketball game with him. Never got to do that. And I wanted to go to the Super Bowl with him. Never got to do that. Lost my dad to a second bout with cancer 8 years ago. And even though we weren't able to watch season openers together anymore, I still kept that tradition alive, because even though he wasn't there physically in the home, the memory he instilled in me, the love of the game, the love of sports, the excitement of Kickoff Weekend, the excitement of sports, he instilled that in me. So in his honor, I continued that tradition. And hopefully when I have little ones, I'll be able to do that for them. I said that to say this: you never know whose life you impact just by spending some time with them doing some of the simplest things. Who would have thought that a soda, a snack cake, and a bag of chips would be the spark that got me into football, would be the spark that got me into my love of sports as a whole, and sharing them with people and debating and discussing and talking about them. One of the greatest memories I have of me and my dad. So spend some time with people. Spend time with those that you are closest to. Spend time with those that you love. Because I could throw any cliche out there. I could say life is short and all this and that. You just never know how much of an impact your presence, your kindness, your time can have on someone. You just never know. So I'm going to keep that tradition going. I'm going to keep eating the snack cakes and the chips and drinking the soda. Yeah, I like to stay fit, but you know what? Kickoff weekend, I can afford to splurge like that a little bit. But I love you, Pop, Joel Earl Bonds. Love you. Wish you were still here. Wish we were still hitting it hard on these season openers. And I wish we had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And eventually I'll make it there one day. And when I do, I'm definitely going to have him in my heart and on my mind, and enjoy it like I know we both would. So folks, just spend time with your loved ones. spend time with them, do something with them. You just never know what type of memories and that you will still and what type of passion you will create within them just by spending a little time with them. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Toss, everybody, and it's about that time for me to get on up out of here. But before I do, I want to thank each and every single one of you for joining me on that journey. Joining me on this journey of Toss. Hopefully we can just grow this and continue to grow this. And like I said, my goals are the same. I want to grow this. I want this to be a forum for everyone, for debate, for your comments, for your questions. I'm hoping to do a question and answer show soon, but I need the questions. So the only way I can get those are from you guys. So like I said, last time I said that we did not have a Facebook page, but guess what? Now we do. That's at facebook.com/TON-Sports-Show. That is TON Sports Show. Go ahead, check that page out, like it, share it, add your comments. I'm going to be putting some video clips on there. I'm going to be putting some questions of the week, and also using some of your questions and answering those on the show very, very soon. But I can't do that if nobody's liking, if nobody's sharing, if no one's commenting. So make sure you hit that Facebook page up. Again, facebook.com/TON-Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show at facebook.com. Of course, my personal Twitter handle, the20double. That is the20double. I will be in Las Vegas starting this Thursday. The Packers play the Seahawks this Sunday. I will be live tweeting that game, so make sure you get at me on Twitter. Make me laugh, challenge me, do something, but get at me on Twitter, the20double. That is the20double. It's been great being with you guys on this second episode of Toss, Tristain on Sports Show. So this is me reminding all of you that dreams don't catch themselves. Get up, get out, get after it. Until next week, so long from Toss.